Over the years, pawn shops have seen some fantastic and unique goods come through their doors, some of which are far too valuable for their own good. Because of their high value, these unusual and outrageously expensive objects frequently have a high price on them, which the pawn shops are forced to fork out for. In today's video, we will be discussing some of the most insane purchases made at pawn shops. 1922 proof piece high relief dollar, $80,000. The 1922 high relief dollar, described as one of the rarest coins in American history, was brought into a shop by a man who had won it in a poker game. The guy estimated the coin's value to be roughly $20,000, as it was one of only 10 to 12 remaining in existence. After the store had one of their experts look at it, the price soared dramatically, with a new estimate of $50,000 to $100,000 being given. They then struck an agreement for $80,000 between the two of them. Maurice Sendak sketches, $250,000. A man was given the original sketches for Maurice Sendak's children's book, Where the Wild Things Are, by a collector. When a pawn shop saw the sketches, they were definitely awestruck. The sketches for Where the Wild Things Are were one of a kind because Sendak never sold prints of his work. The shop persuaded the owner to sell the lot for $250,000 after consulting with an art expert who estimated he might get $310,000 for the sketches. This is a great item to collect at a pawn shop, as it's something you wouldn't come across often. JFK cigar box, $60,000. They knew they had to have it when a man strolled into the gold and silver pawn shop with a piece of presidential history, described as a one-in-a-lifetime artifact. The item was a cigar box that used to be on President John F. Kennedy's Oval Office desk. It even featured some cigars that had never been smoked. They knew they were onto a winner when they haggled this one off the gentleman for $60,000, as another one of JFK's cigar boxes sold for over $500,000 in the 1990s. 1941 Gibson SJ200 guitar, $85,000. This guitar was not only magnificent and unusual, but it also belonged to a rock legend. This piece of rock and roll history belonged to Stephen Stills of the folk music band Crosby, Stills and Nash, and it was immediately desired by the shop, which they eventually obtained. To get their hands on this holy grail of a guitar, they had to dig deep and see what they could come up with. Finally, they were able to get their hands on it and purchase it for $85,000 from the owner. Isaac Newton's personal copy of De Natura Fossilium, $20,000. What a thrill it was to find a copy of the 1546 De Natura Fossilium on the counter of a pawn shop. The book was complete with all of Sir Isaac Newton's marks and a bookplate certifying that it belonged to him. It was a book that he kept in his library and had incredible worth because of it. Despite the fact that the expert said it was worth $20,000, the owner only sold it for $7,000, making it a bad deal for the seller. Pounds of silver, $111,000. One gentleman chose to buy almost 200 pounds of silver after his father advised him to do so. 12 years had gone since his investment, and the price of silver had risen by the time he strolled into a pawn shop. This pawn shop knew that they would be able to sell it right away because of its value and rarity, so after some checks to confirm that the silver was pure, which included drilling, they were glad to buy the trove for the princely amount of $111,000. Dutch East India Company 1602 antique ship bell, $15,000. When the owner of an antique ship bell came in, she said it belonged to a ship controlled by the Dutch East India Company in 1602. When someone claims that their item is worth a lot of money, people immediately begin to suspect its authenticity. One of the main reasons this object was suspected of being a counterfeit was because it was in far too fine of shape to have been underwater. So they brought in an expert, and to their amazement, it was proven to be the real stuff, worth a whopping $15,000. 2001 New England Patriots Super Bowl championship ring, $100,000. Brock Williams, a former New England's Patriot defensive back, walked up to a pawn shop one day, eager to sell his commemorative 2001 Super Bowl ring. They were filled with enthusiasm when they spotted the ring, because it is not often that an actual Super Bowl championship ring makes it to the shop. The outrageously stunning ring, which is coated in 143 diamonds and constructed of 14-karat white gold, is what made it so collectible. It was the first time a ring had gone above the NFL's expense cap. They ended up buying it for $2,000 as a loan collateral and keeping it after Brock failed to return to claim it. It is currently valued at $100,000. 1932 custom Ford Roadster, $68,250. This item was a subject of heated negotiations with the owner of the flawless jet black 500 horsepower 1932 custom Ford. With only 450 miles on the clock, the convertible Roadster was in perfect condition, and when they fell in love with it, they knew they had to buy it, which they did for $68,250. The Egyptian cartonnage mummy mask, $30,000. When Dr. Phineas Castle was requested to go to a shop and check if a customer's ancient Egyptian mummy mask was genuine, it only took him a few seconds to realize they were looking at the real thing. He estimated the value to be around $22,500, but added that because it was so unique, it could sell for more to a collector. The store decided they wanted this sculpture and had no choice but to pay the $30,000 asking price to get it. 1932 Lincoln Roadster, $95,000. This convertible was designed with one goal in mind: to provide luxury. It was more powerful than other cars of the time, with a 150 horsepower V12 engine. So it was a no-brainer for the pawn shop owners when this was brought in. They knew they had to go big if they wanted to ride away with this vintage beauty. It was ultimately $95,000 in cash, which the owner subsequently pushed back over the counter to purchase $95,000 in gold. 1554 Spanish gold bar from a shipwreck, $50,000. A gold bar was brought into a pawn shop that was said to have been part of a 1554 Spanish shipwreck. The owner was cleaning his attic and discovering something that was likely worth a lot of money: a piece of gold. Negotiations to purchase it began once it was learned that the meltdown value was $24,000. The bar's owner was offered $35,000, which he accepted. It was eventually discovered to be worth $50,000. 1961 Gibson SG Les Paul guitar, $90,000. This handcrafted guitar belongs to Mary Ford, an American guitarist and the wife of Les Paul, the famed guitarist. Mary and Les co-wrote 16 top 10 singles and sold millions of albums between 1950 and 1954. Les's solid body guitar design had a significant impact on rock music sound. This would be a significant and thrilling guitar purchase and find, as it is already a rare guitar, made more valuable by its genuine link to Les Paul. The store did well to buy it for $90,000 after the owner's initial asking price of $250,000. Bronze O.J. Simpson statue, $125,000. Not only was this one of the most unusual objects ever to enter a pawn shop, but it was also brought in by none other than Flavor Flav, the rap superstar and originator of wearing a wall clock around your neck. At his famed Rockingham Avenue mansion in Los Angeles, the statue used to sit outside his pool. He expected the statue to bring in $125,000 when he carried it into the shop. He received the statue after doing a radio interview and learning that the station possessed the statue and wanted to present it to him. As absurd as it may sound, no agreement was reached because Flavor Flav refused to budge on his $125,000 demand. 1915 Panama Pacific octagonal gold coin, $67,500. Rick from the show Pawn Stars sought to discover a 1915 Panama Pacific octagonal $50 gold piece for a buyer who wanted to spend $70,000 for it after traveling to Atlanta to attend one of America's largest coin auctions. The United States Mint issued these commemorative coins to commemorate the Panama Canal's opening. Rick finally settled on a purchase for $67,500 after tracking down 2 coins. These are just a few of the most insane and expensive pawn shop purchases. There are some objects out there that are extremely uncommon and hence have a very high value, while others are simply outstanding items that celebrities no longer want or have a need for. If you enjoyed today's video, don't forget to like and subscribe so you never miss out on any new and upcoming videos. Thanks for watching.